Good morning. Please rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 347, Gather the Spirit. The lyrics will be on the screen.
No one should deceive another, nor despise anyone anywhere. Because of anger and thoughts of aversion, no one should wish suffering for another.
Just as a mother would protect her son, her only son, with her own life, so one should cultivate boundless mind toward all living beings.
And toward the whole world, one should develop goodwill, a state of mind without limits, above, below, and across, unconfined, without enmity, without adversaries.
Whether standing, walking, sitting, or lying down, as long as one is awake, one should resolve on this mindfulness. They call this a divine dwelling here.
We light our chalice this morning, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith. May it be a beacon that invites us to embody the wisdom of the loving kindness meditation. May all beings be happy. May all beings be safe. May all beings everywhere be free. May we be carriers of this light of radical compassion and kindness into wholeness, into liberation, into the one circle of life.
Good morning.
Good morning.
You all seem so quiet this morning when singing, good morning. Ah, there you are. Welcome to the Eno River Unitarian Universalist Fellowship, or ERUUF, as we like to say. My name is Reverend Jacqueline Brett. I'm the lead minister here, and whoever you are, wherever you come from, whatever your race, your gender identities, whomever you love, and wherever you are on your spiritual journey or in your search for truth, meaning, and liberation, we welcome you here in beloved community. If you are visiting with us for the first or perhaps even the second time, I invite you to rise in body or spirit so that we might give you an ERUUF welcome. Welcome all. I saw that little exchange of words like, yeah, we should stand. It was like, see, we don't bite. It's all good. It's all good. Well, we're glad to have you all here. Directly after this service is a class that we hold called, no, that was before this service. I'm so confused. For some, yes, directly after this service is a class called Inquires for Visitors and Newcomers. And if you are new here and want to find out a little bit more about us, we invite you to attend that class. You learn something about ERUUF, and we get to learn something about you as well. And for any of you who have children, and if you would like your children to participate with our children in the religious exploration class, that the children will leave directly after the story for all ages. And if you and your child would follow all the other parents out, those teachers will take care of you, and then you can come back into the service. The other thing I wanted to let you all know is this is a very special day at ERUUF. We will be having a celebration on behalf of Lana and Richard Harkrader, and I will say more about that in a little bit. But I just want everyone to know, especially after you hear what I have to say about these amazing people, that you're all invited to participate in that celebration, which will take place at 11:30 in the fellowship hall right across the breezeway, where all of you will be for coffee anyway. So just hang out a little bit longer so that we can celebrate these two amazing people. So now would be a great time to turn off or down any devices on your person. And for those of you on the live stream, if you have access to the chat, please put your name in the chat and someone will welcome you there as well. So let's all take a deep breath in and let it out. So yesterday I was with some people during which someone told the story of how a well-meaning group set out to meet the needs of an impoverished community that clearly would be helped by having access to food. So they opened a food bank to provide them food. To their surprise, after some success in this effort, people gradually stopped coming to the food bank, so much so that the folks who opened it closed it, feeling frustrated, puzzled, and maybe even a little judgy about the people they sought to help. Then someone got the idea to go out and talk with the people to find out why they were no longer interested in the food bank. Much to the surprise of the well-meaning helpers, they discovered that the people were most concerned about their struggles with high blood pressure and diabetes and related illnesses. Of course they needed food, the people said, but they were concerned that the quality of the food being provided would contribute to further illness. Our helpers listened to the community and reopened their food bank with newfound knowledge that was now grounded in relationships rather than assumptions about the people they sought to assist. As a result, not only did the community benefit, but the helpers benefited as well, and what was now a partnership. The phrase, "nothing about us without us," is often said in communities, both locally and globally, that are the recipients of well-meaning help. In other words, they want to be at the table with people who respect them enough to listen to them and to partner with them rather than having even the most well-meaning efforts done to or for them. It is such relationship, community, and collaboration that Lana and Richard Harkrader have exemplified for the last 30 years in partnership with communities of San Ramon, Nicaragua. As returned Peace Corps volunteers in 1993, the Harkraders established the NGO, non-government organization, Sister Communities of San Ramon, Nicaragua, to work with the communities of this rural area to realize the goals and endeavors of the people there, rooted in the important goal to also foster ties of peace and friendship. As local people were encouraged for decision-making and leadership in their own lives, the Harkraders raised $2 million for projects such as schools, latrines, teacher training, and commercial ovens. They established sister chapters here in Durham, Raleigh, Chapel Hill, Carrboro, and Morehead City, Beaufort. We have been fortunate that the Harkraders have been members of ERUUF during all that time. Many of us have purchased the coffee and crafts they diligently sold in behalf of this effort. We donated money, and some of us even traveled with them to Nicaragua on eco-tours, all of which was in support of the sister communities. It was with great regret that the organization closed at the end of last year as a result of the instability of the Nicaraguan government. So today we celebrate the Harkraders and their decades-long commitment to the people of San Ramon and for their example of justice done well. I wanted to especially acknowledge them here during this service so that those of you who might be viewing the live stream or perhaps the recording later could learn of their work and celebrate them with us. As I said earlier, everyone who is present today is invited to join us in the fellowship hall for further celebration. You know, it's not often, but every once in a while, we are greatly privileged to be in relationship with people who impact the world for others in a tremendous way. And thus, we and the world itself are changed. Such people understand they do not do the work alone, and as a result, the rest of us get to see that with determination and fortitude, what we too might accomplish when we partner with others. Lana and Richard are such people, and we are greatly privileged to be in relationship with them. So I invite you to please join me now in honoring them. There you go. Beautiful. Thank you. Yes. Get on your feet, people. There will be more to follow later. This is just a prelude. Thank you for rising in their behalf. Many of us don't get to do what they have done, and I think it deserves our celebration.
You can come on down. There's plenty of room. Come on down. I promise, it's easier to see the pictures up here.
Look at that little baby.
Today, we are reading a story about a very important person. Has anyone here ever heard of the Buddha before? Have you heard of the Buddha? He was a really important teacher that we learn from. But before he was the Buddha, he was Prince Siddhartha. This is a story about a real person who lived a long time ago, and he's going to teach us a little lesson about compassion. So today's story is called Prince Siddhartha and the Bully. Prince Siddhartha was kind and gentle. What a wonder! He will be a great king one day, everyone said. That is, everyone except Devadatta, Siddhartha's favorite cousin. Devadatta said, I'm a prince too. I should be king, not Siddhartha. A seed of jealousy sprouted in his heart. Siddhartha learned all the skills that a brave prince needed to know. He learned to ride a horse, to shoot arrows, to wrestle, and to use a sword. He was trained along with Devadatta and 100 other princes whose favorite thing was to play battle. Siddhartha, come play battle with us. I'd rather go to the river and watch the baby swans. Coward, you're afraid to fight. What kind of king will you be? Was that nice of Devadatta to call him? No, right? It's okay to have different interests. Siddhartha asked the river, why does Devadatta call me names? I thought he was my friend. He sat quietly and listened to the river. All his fears and troubles floated away. A seed of compassion sprouted in his heart. Do you remember what Devadatta had in his heart? He had a seed of jealousy, right? In Siddhartha, he has a seed of compassion. One day, Siddhartha found a swan with an arrow in its wing. It's the mother swan, he cried. I must save her. And he gently removed the arrow. Devadatta ran up, shouting, That's my swan. I shot it. But she's still alive, said Siddhartha. It doesn't matter, said Devadatta. Give her to me. No, you'll only kill her, said Siddhartha. Then who will take care of the baby swans? I don't care, said Devadatta. Then he smiled. Look, if you give me the swan, I'll be your friend forever. Does that sound like a good deal? That's not really the kind of friend I want. No. Once again, Siddhartha asked the river, what is important here? In the silence, he felt the swan tremble in his arms. He felt her warmth. He felt her heart. And his compassion grew bigger. He said to Devadatta, I'd like to be your friend, but the swan's life is important to me too. I can't let you kill her. Very well, said Devadatta. Let's go ask the wise men. They know the law and will surely say the swan is mine. Each boy told the court his side of the story. One wise man said, Devadatta shot the swan, so it belongs to him. This is the law of the kingdom. Another argued, that would be true if the swan were dead, but it is still alive, so it should go to Siddhartha. Yet another said, life is precious to all creatures. As such, the swan should go to the boy who saved its life, not the one who will kill it. This is the law of the heart. The others nodded their heads in agreement, and the swan was given to Siddhartha. The jealousy in Devadatta grew even stronger. From then onward, Devadatta used every chance to pick a fight with Siddhartha or to cause him trouble. But something always foiled his plans, and he was defeated by his own meanness and jealousy. In spite of this, Siddhartha still thought of him as a friend. While Devadatta watered the seed of jealousy, Siddhartha watered the seed of compassion. Both seeds grew. So in our story, do they reach an agreement? So is it okay to have different opinions from someone? Yeah. But how does Siddhartha treat Devadatta even though they have different opinions? Yeah, Devadatta treats him badly, right? But Siddhartha, he did good, right? He had compassion. So we are going to continue talking about this in RE. If you want to come out to the courtyard with me, and we'll get all signed in. Thank you for reading with me this morning.
Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. Peace, salam, shalom. We believe in peace. We believe in peace. We believe in peace. We believe in peace, salam, shalom. I'd like to invite you all to rise in body or spirit and join me in singing hymn number 1023 in the teal hymnal, Building Bridges, and the lyrics will be on the screen. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me with all our voices and all of our visions? Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Building bridges between our divisions, I reach out to you. Will you reach out to me with all our voices and all of our visions? Friends, we could make such sweet harmony. Before you sit down, please take a moment to turn and greet your neighbors.
The Geneva Academy of International Humanitarian Law and Human Rights reports that there are over 110 armed conflicts currently going on in the world, 45 in the Middle East and North Africa, 35 in the rest of Africa, 21 in Asia, 7 in Europe, and 6 in Latin America. Let us reflect upon that reality for a moment. In full transparency, I must say that I had not planned to be here today, except for the honoring of the heart graders. Then I received an email from one of our members, thank you, who expressed her great disappointment that all year we as a congregation had offered no statement or done anything in acknowledgement of the war in Gaza except to offer words of prayer. And though I believe words of prayer are both important and have powerful effect, I understand her desire for something more tangible. And I have been sitting with what that might be since last October. I admit to you that I am often rendered mute when I am deeply disturbed or horrified or traumatized by something, not the best response for a minister. Several of my dear friends engaged in active protest and expressions of their outrage, anger, and pain, but my way is different. I spent the first several months attempting to process what was happening and to learn more about the history of it all, the possibilities of dialogue or other ways of addressing what was escalating and becoming ever more horrific. In so doing, I neglected to acknowledge the heartbreak and pain of Jewish members of this community in the wake of October 7th. I have since listened to some of them and apologized as the religious leader of this community of which they are a part, this pluralistic community. When we speak of pluralism as Unitarian Universalists, we often think mostly of religious beliefs. But pluralism also acknowledges that we have many differences and commonalities in culture, our experiences, as well as our theologies. But we ultimately, as Unitarian Universalists, celebrate that in such diversity, we are all sacred beings. And while it is wonderful to be in a pluralistic community such as ours, as your leader in this self-governing community, it is not I alone who decides upon a public statement on behalf of all of ERUUF. It's important that you know this. Some months ago, I approached our board of trustees about this, and they too held doubts about making a statement on behalf of everyone here, even or perhaps especially because each of them held their own feelings about the war between Israel and Hamas. In all fairness to them and myself, none of us imagined that this war would continue in the horrific way that it has. In 1983, the Black feminist Audre Lorde wrote, "I was going to die, if not sooner than later, whether or not I had ever spoken myself. My silences had not protected me. Your silence will not protect you. What are the words you do not have yet? What do you need to say? What are the tyrannies you swallow day by day and attempt to make your own until you will sicken and die of them, still in silence? We have been socialized to respect fear more than our own need for language. And of course I am afraid. You can hear it in my voice," she said, "because the transformation of silence into language and action is an act of self-revelation, and that always seems fraught with danger." It is with Audre Lorde's wise prophetic words in mind that I speak with you my own thoughts about all of this, but not on behalf of each of you. I can tell you that I believe that what occurred on October 7th was absolutely terrible and also not without context. I can tell you that my way is that of peace, and I do not believe that war or violence is ever ultimately an answer. I can tell you that I believe that when people are systematically dehumanized in words or by deeds, it only perpetuates atrocities that lead to further the dehumanization of every single one of us as well. I can tell you that I believe that what is going on in Gaza at this moment is horrific and unconscionable. I can tell you that I believe that the complicity of the United States in all of this is wrong. And I can tell you that I believe to say this is to not say that I am anti-Semitic any more than it is to say that just because I might disagree with you or point out when you are doing something wrong, it must mean that I hate you, when it actually means that I care enough to say something, to even cry out against your actions for the sake of us all. And I can also say that nothing that I say here will be satisfying or a balm to every single one of you, because they are only my words, my beliefs. And you must speak your own words, engage in your own actions, rooted in your conscience and your beliefs. I can say that what we here at ERUUF are constantly attempting is difficult, heartrending, and sometimes heartbreaking. But I will always listen to you, sit at the table with you, and engage in the highest action on behalf of the well-being of all with you. I share with you this recent poem called Gaza, written by the Booker Prize-winning Nigerian poet and novelist Ben Okri. And before I begin, I will say that this poem challenges me, and it will likely challenge you as well. He writes, I don't know how many have died or how many died before war flared up. There must be a way to listen to all the pain that burns in a people, must be a way to hear all that anguish. Pain creates deadness of heart. Distance makes all that suffering unreal. How else can great powers add bombs and missiles to an agony that's engulfing the world in fire and rage? How did we become so deaf to the death of innocent children and their mothers? How did we get to measure the value of one death against another with one worth 1,000 of the other? Surely, the heart of the world has died. Surely we have turned to stone in our veins. I sit here staring at the sky, wondering what could change the coldness in the soul that makes it possible for us to eat our food, go to work, and laugh with our families when we know that over in Gaza, a brief dream away, hundreds of thousands starved, their homes destroyed, their lives broken. There ought to be no religion that lets us be indifferent to all that suffering. Surely something's wrong with the world. Something's twisted in our humanity. I have friends who weep at the loss of their dogs, but whose ears are closed to the wailing from the flattened houses of Gaza. Complexity ought not to stop our souls from feeling. For pain creates stones instead of human beings. There are, in truth, no distances in the spirit of humanity. Any great injustice makes the sleep of the world howl. We breathe in the destruction of lives we can't see. In our dreams, we die with them. In our sleep, our souls grieve with them, for their deaths are ours, whoever they may be. We grow sick with the times. We become twisted with the wounds. Whether we are silent or not, we are poisoned by the massacres. No civilization can survive on the murder of a people. We are watching our demise in silence. Peace is not ignorance or lies. We are measured by what we tolerate, the agony we ignore, keep quiet about for our peace of mind. Silence helps those missiles. Our silence is touched with the blood of those children. And every day that we turn away and shut our hearts below, in the common earth of all humanity, the spilled blood rises and ghosts feed on our prosperity. For Gaza is not there, it's here. That the war must end, it is clear. Find a way that does not mean the destruction of one people or another. History, in its wisdom, in its terror, has brought us to this place, to this impossible mathematical equation where we cannot solve the future with the past, with blood or blame or bombs or unsustainable slogans. I see a new future is possible there. I see the lands fertile in tough, invaluable collaboration. I see that the desert will come alive with music. I see two peoples finding a new way. I see that this miracle is the only pragmatic path. All that hatred, that anger can only blossom into a miracle. If vision and love can't bring us there, then let all the suffering find for us a new road. I see a shining new land where two dreams surprise the world by finding a way to coexist. Breakthrough of our times. Who would dream it? Make it real while the bombs flower and the children weep. Who will find a way instead of taking a side? Who will find a way instead of taking a side? As sure as I sit here staring at the sky, I know that this vision of peace must come to be. It's an unavoidable destiny. As Pam leads us in song, and you may stay seated. You can come forward, Pam. I invite any of you who wish to do so to come forward and light a candle, not because it changes anything, but because it might symbolize and hold the feelings we each hold in our heart as we are in this ritual together, whatever those feelings might be.
May I be
Please join me now in the spirit of meditation and prayer. Spirit of life, we enter this time together with a longing to know connection, resisting the urge to rush to the next moment and the next. Let us pause and acknowledge this moment. Let us embrace our dream of a world community of peace and justice for all. May we open to discover the many ways to embody the light of compassion in our journey together. As a community that cares for one another, we lift up our joys and concerns. We hold in our hearts Richard and Lana Harkrader for their dedication and service as we are celebrating their work with sister communities of San Ramon, Nicaragua. We hold in our hearts James Jordan, who lifts up prayers of thanksgiving for family and prayers for the Ergo family in California. We hold in our hearts all those living in the shadow of war and violence, those demonstrating for peace, and those on the front lines of conflict, especially the war in Gaza. In these challenging times, let us remember that we are one global family living on the same human-impacted earth. Let us center ourselves in compassion as we work for justice, equity, and peace. We hold in our hearts and acknowledge the suffering and grief that informs our mission to side with love again and again. On this Memorial Day weekend, we honor all those who have fallen in service to this country. We acknowledge the sacrifice, the courage, and appreciate those who continue to work for freedom and justice around the world. In a spirit of unity and compassion, together we breathe and listen and honor this moment in silence. And so it is. Amen, Ashe, and blessed be. A few years ago, I took my young children to an Earth Day gathering in Durham Central Park. There were a variety of booths and activities, typical festival scene. At one point, we came upon this circle of people sitting in silent meditation. So we joined the sitting group, and as we found our spots, I noticed who was leading this group of meditators. It is Steve Seiberling of the Eno River Buddhist Community. We smiled in silent acknowledgement of one another. There's something very powerful about group sitting meditation. It amplifies the experience in a subtle and powerful way. Today, Steve is going to share about his experience in walking the Buddhist path with this group that has met at ERUUF since the 1990s. American Buddhist teacher Lama Surya Das writes, Buddhism and Unitarian Universalism value many of the same things, including experiential practice, study and self-inquiry, mindful awareness cultivation, insightful wisdom development, and loving kindness, combined with active compassion in the world. This is the heart of sacred activism, empowering, educating, edifying, elevating, transforming, and liberating. In Unitarian Universalism, we appreciate the rich tradition and practices in Buddhism as one of the sources we acknowledge that can inform our search for truth and meaning. One of the core practices in Buddhism is meditation. And while there's many different ways to meditate as a regular spiritual practice, one of the gifts of meditation is that it helps us cultivate awareness. Awareness of thoughts, feelings, beliefs, patterns, judgments. In growing our awareness, we can begin to see how we put the world together, what moves us toward peace, harmony, and gratitude, and what moves us in the other direction. In the space of inner reflection, we can notice the relationships between thoughts and feelings, how these create emotional states, which lead to words and actions. And we return to the breath and the moment, noticing the relationship of thoughts, feelings, emotional states. These are the seeds we cultivate. Our words and actions are the fruit. And we eat this fruit as the very thing that keeps us going. And we also serve it to others. So stepping back and noticing, what kind of fruit are we creating? Then feeding ourselves and offering to others. What kind of fruit are we offering to the world as a community? Yes, fruit is a metaphor here. In the practice of meditation, we can begin to see and create space to see more clearly. In this clarity, we can see ourselves, each other, life, the world as it is, noticing. Each noticing is an opportunity to return again and again with compassion to what we see, how we put it together, until compassion becomes our first choice, the habit, the go-to, the default response, such that it influences the whole food chain of thought, feeling, word, action. Then the seed of compassion grows into the fruit of compassion that we feed ourselves, that we share with others, and that we offer to the world. Why compassion? In Buddhist teachings and in many other traditions, compassion is a word used to describe what is actually our natural state of being when everything else is stripped away. The persona, the projections, the denials and defensiveness, what some call the false self versus the true self. This is yet another benefit of meditation as spiritual practice. We learn to connect with and embody our natural state. And what do we find as a key quality of this natural state? compassion, and loving kindness. And the main door to our natural state is the present moment. The gift of this moment, this breath, this now. The more we learn to notice, engage, and embody in the present, the more we are able to access our natural state of being. And what flows from this natural state? Compassion, care in action, loving kindness. Here, now, breathe. Here, now, be. May it be so.
Good morning. In the early 1990s, I began attending a Buddhist practice group that had recently been started at ERUUF thanks to Reverend Arvid Straube and members of this congregation. Participating in the group began a process of learning and exploration that I am deeply grateful for. These thoughts reflect some of what I've learned investigating Buddhist wisdom over the past 30 years. May they be of benefit to you. I'll be sharing thoughts about three things, and beginning with how a need for authenticity changed the way that I approach Buddhist sources. And secondly, how early Buddhist practice is grounded in truthfulness. And lastly, how you can use personal reflection to cultivate compassion. When I began exploring Buddhism some years ago, the approach that I used was not fully aligned with the truth in some ways. And that, it turned out, limited the value of Buddhist practice for me. My initial approach to Buddhism was eclectic, drawing from a variety of Buddhist traditions, which I intended to appropriate and modify in keeping with my own perspectives. And honestly, many people, including myself, find that they get great benefits from this sort of approach. I slowly concluded, however, as I looked more deeply into the teachings that I was studying, that many of these traditions had remarkable distinctiveness, and that I hadn't fully appreciated the depth of their variety. According to scholars of Buddhism, the various Buddhist traditions are effectively different religions with as much doctrinal diversity as that found across the whole of Judaism, Islam, and Christianity combined. To use a familiar metaphor, the Buddhist traditions do not seem to be different paths going up the same mountain, but from my sense, many distinct paths scattered across a whole range of mountains. You may choose not to follow the path that I took with this, but let me describe the process that I ended up embracing. The question arose for me, was I willing to do the work to understand what traditions had to say on their own terms? And having done that, then choose how to relate to those traditions. Or should I be content with taking pieces of Buddhist teachings and shaping them in keeping with my preferences? And as a consequence, potentially not fully grasp what that tradition offered or realize all of its benefits. I decided to try pursuing the first approach because of the remarkable benefits I had found studying Buddhist texts. I was also teaching Buddhism to others and felt responsible for interpreting the source material with integrity. A key to taking this approach is seeing ancient texts as evidence, essentially data that we evaluate as honestly as we can. Scholarly resources are often helpful in supporting this type of interpretation. We make our best effort to set aside our biases and preferred interpretations for the sake of understanding what the text really say. Unfortunately, we're not quite done at that point. Just because a teaching is well attested in an ancient text, of course, does not mean that it is the truth. That would be to succumb to fundamentalism. Instead, we evaluate the teaching based on honest reflection and experience. I now choose to focus my study and practice on early Buddhist sources. These are teachings that date from the earliest period after the life of the Buddha, based on historical critical analysis. The approach is similar to that of Christian scholars who seek to parse out an historically accurate depiction of Jesus and what he taught, free from the doctrinal overlays of later generations. So how does truthfulness play a role in early Buddhist teaching? The following is found often in these texts. The teaching of the Buddha is directly visible, immediate, inviting one to come and see, applicable, to be personally experienced by the wise. Early Buddhist teachings emphasize evaluating things through direct experience. This allows one to see what is true and beneficial for oneself and not to have to rely on dogmatic claims. Doing this well depends upon a strong commitment to the truth, prioritizing whatever happens to be true over maintaining an existing opinion, and seeing beyond superficial appearances. One way to cultivate this quality is by practicing truthful speech. The Buddha urged his followers to say only what is true and never knowingly say anything false. Just to be clear, this is not an invitation to brutal honesty in a way that is not helpful. But is to be balanced by discerning what is beneficial to the other person and choosing to speak at the right time. The Buddha also taught his disciples to exercise care in making claims about what is true. A person is said to preserve truth when acknowledging the reason that they hold a view, while avoiding jumping to the conclusion that the belief is definitely true. Practicing mindfulness meditation, one cultivates seeing what is present in the mind as clearly and simply as possible. This relies on the willingness to see honestly, even when that may be uncomfortable. These and many other practices taught by the Buddha ultimately aim to help us see clearly in order to cut through the delusions that underlie stress and suffering. As one American monk, Bhikkhu Bodhi, describes it, to follow the Buddha in the direction he wants to lead us, we have to learn to see beneath the surface glitter of pleasure, position, and power that usually enthralls us. And at the same time, we learn to see through the deceptive distortions of perception, thought, and views that habitually cloak our vision. Ordinarily, we represent things to ourselves through the refractory prism of subjective biases. These biases are shaped by our craving and attachments which they in turn reinforce. We see things that we want to see. We blot out things that threaten or disturb us, that shake our complacency, that throw into question our comforting assumptions about ourselves and our lives. To undo this process involves a commitment to truth that is often unsettling, but in the long run proves exhilarating and liberating. So now that I have perhaps inspired you to develop reflective, clear seeing, let's try out these skills to cultivate compassion. Teachings in early Buddhist sources frequently emphasize the cultivating of goodwill and compassion, as Danial has so eloquently expressed. So let's take a moment to turn inward and reflect. What are the consequences if I cultivate anger in response to unjust actions? How does this affect my own state of mind and well-being? How does acting from that anger affect others? In what ways are such actions effective in addressing the underlying issues? In what ways are they not? What results if I cultivate compassion in response to others' unjust actions? In my observation, compassion for others does not prevent me from taking action to address injustice. It also helps me avoid harm to myself and to others. Before I close, I invite you to consider ways that you might like to develop these practices on your own. Should you wish, for example, try making a commitment to taking great care with the truth, both in your thinking and your speech, for a day or even for a week. Note how it affects your state of mind and your interactions. Or you might try taking time each day for several days to reflect on subjects that cultivate empathy and compassion for others. You might consider the common difficulties we all face as human beings. You might note how you have, in some small way, the same unskillful qualities that you react to in another. If you do this, notice how it affects your state of mind. And lastly, if you are interested in exploring Buddhist teaching and practice, come visit us at the Eno River Buddhist Community. We meet for meditation and discussion on the second and fourth Wednesdays at 7:30 in the evening. Thank you for taking in these views and perspectives, which may or may not fit with your own. If they are of some benefit to you, that will be a source of happiness for me as well. And may we all find the path to truthful, clear seeing and compassion. Thank you.
It is now time for the offering. Please place your tangible gifts in the pouches as they come around, or point your device at the QR code and go on the digital path. And we give thanks for all the generosity and support that sustains this thriving community. We have so much to be thankful for today. We have the gift of celebration, the gift of honoring and remembering, the gift of sharing, the gift of special music. Thank you, Sally. The gift of leadership, the gift of community, and the gift of compassion. We give thanks for all of it. Pam will now lead us in our final hymn.
Please rise in body or spirit and join in singing, "There's a river flowing in my soul." There's a river flowing in my soul. There's a river flowing in my soul, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my soul and in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart. There's a river flowing in my heart, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. Flowing in my heart and in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind. Oh, in my mind. There's a river flowing in my mind, and it's telling me that I'm somebody. There's a river flowing in my mind.
Our closing words today come from Zen monk and activist Thich Nhat Hanh. When you have enough understanding and compassion in you, then that amount of understanding and compassion will try to express itself in action. And your practice should help you cultivate more understanding and compassion. A bodhisattva is someone who has compassion within him or herself and who is able to make another person smile or help someone suffer less. Every one of us is capable of this. May it be so. Go in peace. Go in love.